Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sidetrack here with another look at thermal expansion. This is a mod written by King Lemming. This is the second video in the series, so if you don't know anything about thermal expansion, go back and watch the first video. In the first video, we just talked basics. I showed you a little bit of power generation, power transmittance, power storage, and we talked about the powered furnace and the pulverizer. In this video, we're going to talk about this bad boy here, the sawmill. We're going to talk about the induction smelter. We're going to talk about various liquid transport and storage blocks. And we're going to talk about the magma crucible and the transposer. So mostly this corner over here. All right, so coming on over here, you guys are remembering that all these thermal expansion things have this wonderful graphical interface. You see your inputs on the left, your outputs on the right. Well, the sawmill does exactly what you think a sawmill should do. It takes wooden objects, like this oak wood, and it turns it into wood planks. Now, there are a lot of recipes for the sawmill. So if I just circle through here, you can, as you would expect, take regular wood, turn them into planks. Now this gives you a bonus to doing this in the crafting window. Instead of 4 planks, you get 6 planks. And you get this stuff called sawdust. Now, sawdust is pretty useless on its own, but you can craft it into a compressed sawdust. Still kind of useless, until you smelt it or stick it in your powered furnace, and it will turn it into a lump of charcoal. Charcoal is very useful. So I can throw this in here, and I show you this just to point out that all machines in thermal expansion, as their power level drains, and you can see the power level is slowly draining, they actually start working slower. So in order to have maximum output for your machines, ramp up the juice, and they will work better. Now I should also note that as the energy goes down, the power usage slows down. So they use less power in a period of time, but it goes a lot slower. Ultimately, they use the same amount of power, it just takes longer. So you can see that as this power fills up, it starts going faster and faster. Pretty cool. So now the outputs, you can see this sawmill, just like our pulverizer, has 2 outputs. So you can see that yellow, the secondary product, is our sawdust going into this top chest, and the red, our primary output, or our wood planks, are going into this chest on the right. Very cool. Turn this off and head on over. So I should make note, in case you didn't notice, there are a lot of other things you can break apart. So if you want to break your bed apart, you can get your planks back, you can get the wool back. So it's pretty handy, especially for things like bookcases. If you want those books for something else, sawmill is great. Most people typically just use it for the wood. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the induction smelter. Now the induction smelter, think of it like a regular powered furnace on steroids. It's a little bit more complicated. You can see it has 2 input slots and 2 output slots. So the configuration tab is a little more complicated. You've got a lot of different colors to worry about. So you've got your 2 outputs, red and yellow. And remember, red and yellow can combine into orange. So if you want to output both products in the same direction, you can do that, make it orange. And then your inputs are green and purple. So you can input them from different sides. In this case, I have it from the left side and the back side. Or if you cycle through, you can, wrong direction, you can do blue. And blue will input both of them into both slots. And really that's up to your own design. It's perfectly up to you. Now one thing I do want to mention, because I didn't show you this in the last video, is that you can put your machines directly side by side, and as long as the inputs and outputs are aligned, it will send your product from your pulverizer. In this case, we're going to pulverize cobblestone to get sand. And we'll send that sand directly into the induction smelter, in whichever one you decide to put it in. It's going in the purple side, so it's going to go on this side. So, induction smelter. What can you do with it? I said it's a powered furnace on steroids, But what does that mean? So it has a lot of different recipes. If you need to make nether brick, you can throw some nether rack and soul sand in there. And this will have a secondary product of sulfur. Pretty cool because sulfur can be used with niter and coal to make gunpowder. Well, how do you make niter? Niter, you're going to pulverize sandstone. You get a chance to make niter. You can pulverize any of the sandstones and get a chance to make niter. So kind of cool. So we've got this sand that's coming through here. What am I going to do with it? Well, the other recipes is what most people use it for is you're going to smelt ore. So you can take your iron ore with one sand and it will give you 2 iron ingots. So there's no need to pulverize your ore first and then smelt it. This saves a lot of time, especially if you have a lot of spare sand, because this works very, very quickly and shoots out double ore and a chance for this rich slag. Well, what is rich slag? Rich slag is used in place of sand with your ores, and it will produce 3 iron ingots, so a chance to triple your ore output. Very cool. So induction smelter gives you a 2 to 3 100% output on your ore as opposed to just the single 1 ingot. The other thing that using rich slag does is it gives you a high probability to get this product called slag. Now slag you can get normally is a 25% chance if you're doing the sand and the ore, but slag is used to make rock wool. Remember back in the first video I showed you all those different colors of what I was calling rock wool? This is how you make it. You take your slag, you put it in either a smelter or a powered furnace, and it will cook it into light gray rock wool. If you want colors, you just add color to it. So bone meal, ink sacs, or any of the dyes will give you lots of colored rock wool. So pretty cool. So I can show you, I guess I gotta turn it on, just how quickly this works. So it zips through, it moves pretty quickly, makes your ingots pretty nice. The other thing that you can do with this is you can take pulverized obsidian and either lead ingots or pulverized lead, and it will make you hardened glass. Hardened glass is used as a recipe for some of the things like these tanks, the liquiducts, and your redstone energy contraptions. But it can also be used as a building material, which is pretty cool. It's fairly strong, stronger than regular glass, and the really nice thing about it is if you shift right click on it, it will pop up so you can recollect your glass. Pretty nice. Alright, moving on. We are going to talk about moving liquids. So these are 3 different liquids that you've probably never seen before unless you've played Thermal Expansion. We have a redstone liquid, glowstone liquid, and ender pearl liquid. Now these have specific names, and I can never remember exactly what they are. So you can see destabilized redstone, energized glowstone, and resonant ender. So pretty cool. Well, what do I have? I've got these set up in these tanks. We call these portable tanks. Portable, you say? You mean I can pick this up and take this someplace else? Absolutely. So if you shift right click, it will pop off, go into your inventory, and you can go and place it wherever you want. So pretty cool. Nice. Especially useful if you ever need a bunch of lava. You can take it with you, drag it back. Makes a little bit simpler. Now, if you've been using Buildcraft, you're familiar with these Buildcraft tanks. These obviously are a little bit different because your Buildcraft tanks, once you break them, you lose all the liquid inside of them. However, it's worth pointing out that your Buildcraft tanks store a lot more liquid. These portable tanks only store 8 buckets worth. So you'll fit a lot more in the regular Buildcraft tanks. However, these do have some added bonuses. So in addition to being able to move it around, you can just regularly right-click on it and it will dump the liquid out into the pipes. So that's pretty cool. And you'll see that I have a circular system, so it pretty much dumps out to a certain amount. Once the tank gets or the pipes get kind of full, it starts filling back in here. Well, what else can I do with this? If I were to go ahead and just let this fill up so I can show you a good example of this. All right, so there is still some liquid in this pipe, but this tank is empty. One of the things that you can do is, as you're clicking on it, you notice that I right-clicked on this and the bottom colors turned from blue to orange. Orange says dump all your liquid into whatever is below you. If it's another tank, it'll dump it in there. If it's a pipe, a liquid duct, it'll dump it in there. If you switch it to blue, it will hold on to its liquid, but it's got an added bonus. It will actually suck the liquid back out of any pipes, which is very cool. You don't get that with the Buildcraft tanks, but the downside is it only carries 8 buckets. So this pipe that I kind of threw around the name, they are called Liquiducts. They are from thermal expansion, and they have some very interesting properties. Now I'm going to go ahead and make it nighttime here, so I can show you this. Now the tanks and the Liquiducts actually treat your liquid in a different way than, say, the waterproof Buildcraft pipes do, because they will actually emit light. So all this light that you see around me, I have no lights other than this energized glowstone. So if I go ahead and let it out in here, you'll see that this starts to slowly fill up with energized glowstone, and you can actually see it's lighted up. It's lit up. Pretty cool. So I'm going to let this suck back in, and you'll see the light will slowly start to fade from over there. Very neat. So the next thing I want to show you is that these Liquiducts do have some compatibility with your Buildcraft tanks. So if you were to go ahead and attach it to the top, attach it to the bottom, I have 2 Buildcraft tanks in here. You can extract from these Buildcraft tanks, or really anything, without having to use a redstone engine, which is pretty cool. All you have to do is, if you right-click on the end Liquiduct, you'll see that it kind of adds this red arrow. And when that red arrow is there, if you supply a redstone signal, it will start pulling the liquid out of the tank and into the pipes. And like I said, this is another closed loop, so it's just going to eventually dump back in there. So pretty cool. I like this. This was not something I knew about when I first started playing with this mod, but it's very, very useful. So I can go ahead and turn this back off. It'll eventually fill this up, and the light will stop being emitted from the Liquiduct. Very cool. So how do you get these liquids? What do you do with them? Well, you get them with the Magma Crucible. So the Magma Crucible is simply a machine that melts things. There are a lot of different recipes. You can melt things like netherrack. Melting netherrack actually provides you, if you're using a magmatic engine, a net gain in energy possibility. So melting netherrack costs 12,000 Minecraft joules. Your magmatic engine can make about 18,000 Minecraft joules, so you end up ahead in the game. You can melt blaze rods if you want lava. You can melt cobblestone or stone, but that takes a lot more energy, so it's not really advisable unless you really need the lava. You can melt obsidian. Again, it takes a lot of energy. And if for some reason you really need water, you can melt snowballs, ice, all those kind of things. Mostly, however, what you're going to use your magmatic crucible for is melting either redstone, glowstone, or your ender pearls. Now you'll see that you can either do the dust or the actual blocks themselves. It's entirely up to you. Essentially, the cost goes up, but you get more liquid. It's really one or the other. There's no benefit doing it one way versus the other in terms of energy. All right, so this is how you go ahead and make these. But what would you do with these once you make them? Well, let me go ahead and show you this, because I think this is kind of neat. If I click correctly here. All right, so your energized in addition to the actual crafting uses that I'll cover in a different video, it kind of makes a fun little green puddle that you can jump in and teleport like an Enderman. Maybe you'd use this at the bottom of a long fall. I don't know. It does potentially give some fall damage, or it just looks kind of fun. The next thing I want to show you is this destabilized redstone. Now it puts off a very, very minor amount of light, and it does put off a redstone signal of 1. So maybe you can come up with some uses for it. Don't know. Next thing I want to show you is this energized glowstone. This stuff is kind of fun. I really like this because you place it, it glows, and it actually rises. So instead of most liquids that will sink, this goes up into the air, which adds some very interesting, design concepts. Eventually it will all float away, so that's why I picked it back up. But if you go ahead and put it in something like your house, you can have a nice glowy ceiling or a nice glowing floor, which is kind of fun. Alright, so coming back over here, what on earth can you do in terms of crafting with these various materials? So most of the crafting that you're going to use centers around this liquid transposer. Now, there are a lot of different things you can use this for. You can make things like moss stone by just adding water to your cobblestone. You can make moss stone bricks by adding water to stone bricks. And there are a lot of different things. You can fill buckets up, you can fill vials up, or lots and lots of different things. But what most people are going to use, you can tell I've got a lot of mods installed here. What most people are going to use it for is for making various things like this unattuned tesseract. You add a tesseract frame with some resonant ender, and people are going to use it to make illuminator frames or glowstone illuminators by adding glowstone to an illuminator frame. And you're also going to use it to make what I have in my hand, the redstone energy conduit. And you're going to use it to make your redstone energy cells that is storing the energy over there. So very, very cool. And you know what? Why don't I go ahead and show you a little bit about this. So there are two things that this redstone transposer can do. It can put liquid into an object or pull liquid out of an object. So say I come over and I have some energized glowstone. Am I going to have enough space over here? Yes, I will. Alright, so if I take some energized glowstone and I put it in here, at the moment it doesn't do anything. But if I change the direction that this drop goes, by clicking on this bucket, it will remove the glowstone from here, and it actually put my bucket into this, and it will try and export this liquid. Now I need to change this to yellow so it can go ahead and export up and into here. Eventually it will get sucked all the way up. There it goes. Alright, so if I wanted instead to add liquid to something, I'd switch the direction, make sure this connects, and that's an illuminator frame, so I need to add some glowstone. That should be enough. And it cycles merrily away and makes my glowstone illuminator. So what do you do with the glowstone illuminator? Let me go ahead and show you. Just by the name, you should be able to figure out it's going to illuminate. And essentially, when you put it down, it does nothing. If you don't apply a redstone signal, it stays dark. Apply redstone, and it will light up. Very cool. The next thing you can do, because there are actually several different options with this, is if you take out your trusty crescent hammer, and you right-click on it, you can switch mode switched. The default is on. That means without redstone, it's on. With redstone, it's off. So it's basically the opposite of the default mode. You can do mode scaled, and I'll show you that in a minute. You can do a scaled inverse, which is just the opposite of what I'm going to show you in a minute. You can have it always off, always on, or back to its original beginning value. So this scaled. Let me make it all the way midnight. So what you see in front of me is an example of this mode scaled. So you know that redstone, as it comes out of a source for redstone energy, it's at its highest value. I think it's set to 16 or something like that. And for each square it goes down, it decreases. So you can see that it's slowly running out of energy, all the way till this is as far as it'll go, and this does not get illuminated. So this one is not putting out any light. These ones are putting off such a tiny amount of light that it's kind of gets lost in all this backlighting. But these you can very clearly see are lit up. Well, let's go ahead and show you, because I know some of you are not going to believe that these are actually lit. You can see these are actually, very clearly lit up. Until you get towards the end, this does not really look like it's putting out much of anything. It's got such a very faint signal. But these are very, very, very dim. So what else can you do with your glowstone illuminators? Well, you can dye them all kinds of fancy colors. So in this chest I have all the different dyes, and this includes ink sacs and bone meal. And if you take this and say you want to, you don't like blue anymore, you want it to be white, use a right click, it will use one bone meal and it changes the color. Now, if you go back and you're like, I really like this yellow color, and you're thinking, well, I'll just use dandelion yellow, right? No, because this is dandelion yellow. In order to go back to this yellow color, you actually have to break it and put it down, and yeah, it doesn't work so well. Because it does remember its color. So, food for thought. Think about that. I think in order to break it, I think if I were to smash this enough times, there we go. Now it reverted to its original color. So pretty cool. All right, let's head on back upstairs. And I guess while I'm down here, I can show you this. This is, in case you're wondering where I get all my power for all the machines that I've been talking about. That power is coming up through the floor. I have my redstone energy cell that is full of energy. These are magmatic engines. And if you're wondering what this gray cable is, it's essentially a cable for transmitting redstone signal, and it is supplied by Minefactory Reloaded. My magmatic engines, lava is being supplied to them through this liquiduct, and it just dumps right into the side of the magmatic engine. They are on the off position right now because I have more than enough power. And then I suppose I should point out, because we've been talking about liquiducts, and right before I wrap up, I just wanted to throw this out there in case the obvious wasn't obvious to you. So these portable tanks are really great for supplying lava to your magmatic engines or water to your steam engines. And you can just connect them directly to that with some liquiducts, and it gives you a nice, very easy visual. Oh, hey, I need to go make sure I get some more water, whatever. So, this should do it for this episode. We kind of covered about half of what this mod has to offer. Like I said, it's a very, very large mod. We still have to get to some of these other crazy machines, and then these basically tesseracts that allow you to teleport objects, energy, and liquid across very large distances, but we'll go into those next video. So until next time, this is Sidetrack signing off. I hope you guys have a great evening.